All right. Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers and sovereign thinkers. This is LL3's newest podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful land of enchantment, which is also known as New Mexico. And today's date is Wednesday, October 26, 2016. Yep, it's just early Wednesday morning over here in the Rio Rancho Albuquerque area. So hopefully everyone's still having a great week and keeping tabs what's happening. A lot of stuff is going on. But today I'm going to make this really, you know, just not going to go too long if I can. So it'll be like maybe a few topics that I was in the mood to discuss. So without further ado, we're just going to check it out. All right, this came out today by naturalnews.com by Mike Adams. And this was entitled Electoral Victory for Hillary Already Locked In via Massive Bribery. George Soros admits on video, democracy be damned. Theft of the presidency already complete. And that's what he says. The Democrats have bribed Electoral College representatives to fix the election outcome in favor of Hillary Clinton, admits George Soros in a recently unearthed video. Soros, the same globalist terrorist who funded Black Lives Matter executions of police officers in Dallas and who also funds hundreds of liberal websites and violent activist organizations who stage violence at Trump rallies to blame Republicans. Says in the video that Trump will win the popular vote in a landslide, but that he will lose the electoral vote because it's already a done deal for Hillary Clinton. This is from the video toprightnews.com. And this is a source says it's going to lead to a landslide for Donald Trump in the popular vote, not an electoral vote, because their paid political announcements will have a big role. The popular vote will be a landslide because we are a small minority of extremists. I don't think that Donald Trump has any chance of being elected. The reporter says, but you think that Hillary is a done deal? Soros says, yes. It's an astonishing revelation confirmed what Dave Hodges recently told me in an interview that Electoral College representatives, electors are being approached with bribes to buy their final votes. And of course, you can watch the video here. It's like a minute and 24 seconds long. And so it says here, yes, electors can be bought to vote for anyone they want. Democracy be damned. It's from via archives.gov, good website, it's like a library website. And it says here, there is no constitutional provision or federal law that requires electors to vote according to the results of the popular vote in their states. Some states, however, require electors to cast their votes according to the popular vote. And that is true because there is it's called states' rights. And of course there's a past article on that, on the vote. So you could check it out yourselves. And yeah, it's very interesting. So we'll just keep on going here. And it says bottom here, the U.S. Supreme Court has held that the Constitution does not require electors to be completely free to act as they choose, and therefore political parties may abstract pledges from electors to votes for the party's nominee. The Supreme Court has not specifically ruled on question of whether pledges and penalties for failure to vote as pledge may be enforced under the Constitution. No elector shall have ever been prosecuted for failing to vote as a pledge. And it says here, you may be shocked to learn only 29 states require electors to cast their votes, electoral votes, in accordance with the popular vote of their state. And there's 29 states, and there's a link for that. And I'll give you 29 states, but I won't say the codes. You could just look that up yourself because everything I'll be addressing, it'll be on my speaker page or on possibly YouTube, so a few places. And you can look at it yourself. It says here, it's mainly in alphabetical order. Alabama, Alaska, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, District of Columbia, It's not an actual state, but go on. Let me see. Okay. Florida, Hawaii, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Mississippi, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Mexico, North Carolina, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, South Carolina, Tennessee, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, Washington, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. As that same page writes, over the years, however, despite legal oversight, a number of electors have violated their state laws binding them to their pledged vote. However, these violators often only face being charged with a misdemeanor or a small fine, usually $1,000. Many constitutional scholars agree that electors remain free agents despite state laws and that, if challenged, such laws would be ruled unconstitutional. Therefore, electors can decline to cast their vote for a specific candidate, the one that wins the popular vote of their state, either voting for an alternative candidate or abstaining completely. So technically, what they're saying is winner take all. So, but there is stuff in those laws, the statutes. You can look up yourself. Those 29 states, including D.C. Well, it's not a state, but jurisdiction. The same corrupt Democrats that have rigged the debates, rigged the polls, rigged the news media, and rigged the justice system are now about to steal the election through bribery of electors. Now it's becoming clear have failed to destroy Donald Trump despite the world's most vicious barrage of lies and defamatory news slanders. George Soros and the corrupt Democrats have bribed enough electors to lock in a victory for Hillary Clinton, no matter what happens on election day. What you're going to see the night of November 8th, in other words, is a landslide popular vote victory, immediately followed by electoral votes, handed the official election victory to Hillary Clinton. Theft of the presidency will be achieved thusly, and as you might expect, the American people are going to revolt en masse. We, the people, will not accept the theft of power and nullification of democracy. We, the people, will not accept the theft of power by corrupt criminal regime run by deceptive leftists who lie, cheat, and steal their way to power at every election. The bribery of electors is, of course, the nullification of democracy in America, since it means wealthy globalists can simply buy off electoral votes and put anyone they want into the House. The voters be damned. When the people, American people, realize their votes have been nullified through massive bribery and corruption, they're going to revolt and will never see like we've never seen before. They will take it to the streets in protest. The greater the margin of victory in the popular vote by Donald Trump, the more angry the voters are going to be. We have quite simply reached the point in American history where the people will no longer tolerate the theft of power and massive election fraud that's now routinely pursued by Democrats and especially the Clinton operatives. If this election is stolen by George Soros via bribery of electors, I anticipate a full-on revolt where the military, the police, and citizens stormed Washington and disposed the corrupt Obama-Clinton regime and install a proper election winner as president. That would be Donald Trump, of course. Frankly, we the people have the right to demand that democracy be restored. It's time to take America back from thieving, lying commie bastards running the Democratic Party today. And technically, we should be considered a democratic form of republic. Okay, we'll get that fact straight. Well, on the other hand, they'll say that on U.S. Code Title 28, Section 3002, subsection 15, stated that the United States of America is a federal corporation. Hey, see, you just gotta, like I said, I did a past episode on that. Just to give you guys a heads up, just look in my archives. And one thing we gotta start looking at is Electoral College. If I'm correct, is the Electoral College vote was going to be next month or early January. So I'm gonna grab that and I'll share that with you folks. Okay, stick around. Okay, so this is what's going to be happening on this. It's the Electoral College timeline of key dates, and this is from archives.gov. So I'm gonna add that to the to the memo, put the link on there so you guys can look at it. And it says here, Electoral College timeline of key dates, and it states, the National Archives and Records Administration Office of the Federal Register prepared this timeline under the authority of Section 3, U.S. Code 6, 11, 12, and 13 to assist the states in performing their duties. Term state includes District of Columbia. And of course, the Constitution of the United States and federal law places certain presidential election responsibilities on state executives and the electors for the president and vice president. So, of course, the key date events, it says here, November 8th, that'd be this year, general election. The voters in each state choose electors to serve in the Electoral College. As soon as the election results are final, state officials prepare their certificates of ascertainment, formal list indicating names of electors chosen, as well as the names of all the other candidates for elector and number of vote cast for each. Each state must prepare no less than 7 original certificates of ascertainment, and send one original along with 2 certified copies to the archivist of the United States Office of the Federal Register. Okay, so alternatively, state officials may prepare 9 original. All right, and in either case, the remaining 6 original certain ascertainments are held for later pairing the distribution with the certificate votes. And of course, on December 19th, okay, December 19th, this is where it really starts. The electors meet each electors meet in each state to select the president and vice president of the United States. Electors record their vote on 6 original certificates of votes, which are paired with the remaining 6 original certificate of ascertainments. The elector sign, seal, and certify the package of electoral votes and immediately send them to federal and state officials as detailed in the accompanying instructions. The 28th, deadline for receipt of electoral votes, President of the Senate, which is the Vice President, okay, the archivists of the United States, and other designated federal and state officials must have electoral votes in hand. January 6, 2017, when they swore in the new, if I'm correct, they swore in the new House and Senate. Congress meets in joint sessions to count electoral votes unless Congress passes a law to change the date. So that will be the official date of counting electoral votes in Congress, January 6, 2017. Then, of course, the 20th to be the inaugural season. But I will definitely add those key dates here so you can really like look into it. And let me see something for a moment. So I'm gonna check this out. You know what? You know what? Better yet, I'm just gonna add the whole electoral college thing, presidential election. All right, you get all the links on here for the PDF formats to give you everything here on HTML. All right, so you can actually look it up yourselves. So inauguration day will be at noon, January 20th, 2017. So I'm going to add that to the memo. So that's one thing. Actually, I'm not too surprised. That's what I tell folks on the vice presidential ticket. Okay, is mainly it's the electoral college. They're the ones who do the votes, and that's why I tell folks on the general election, when it comes to the president vice presidential ticket, your vote is going to the electoral college. So technically, 29 states, including D.C., is mostly it's got to be honored by popular vote, but they can still have free will. You got to look at the statutes and actually see it for yourselves. So this is one thing you have to look at. So you gotta put pressure on these individuals, especially in the electoral states, and let the governor know that hey, honor your statutes. Make sure they go by that because the governors have that power. And some states are different. The Commonwealth laws and statutes. I know in Florida, which I live, the governor appoints that. So It will be very interesting, my friends. And and like I said, you're talking to a person that's not a diehard, not a Trump supporter either. All right, and his rhetoric isn't that great. I will admit that, but doesn't mean he's always wrong. He does have um, people that are aiding him aren't lovey-dovey. Like some neocons are in there. That's why he's very leery. You have to look at the entire team as he's surrounded with. And of course, you know how I feel about Hillary. Like I said, I despise that woman for 24 years, and I'm damn consistent. So, and another thing I'm going to add here to this area will be Bill Still did a video on this. You can look at the entire video too if you want, and he has his forte, and he puts a little more input to it. It's that George Soros, Donald Trump will win huge, but lose Electoral College. So it's in the Constitution on Electoral College. That's why definitely got to always look at everything. And like I said, there's links on this article as well. So definitely, folks, you guys got to really see that. Okay, see in those areas. But we got a few more weeks ahead, man. So let's just keep your fingers crossed and keep on going. And another thing too, 10th Amendment movements. You got to focus on your states and even on your local levels, because local governments. Because like I tell people before, we cannot look for a savior, a Lord and Savior. Then you'd be shooting yourselves in the foot. Every individual has those obligations. Doesn't mean you gotta go over ape crap or anything like that, but have a little balance. Take some time, share information. Have some people that are good at doing research. You may do in a political area. You may do good in one aspect, and the one may do another, and do a unit. And you gotta be vigilant in those areas with the local and state governments as well, because hey, like I tell everyone, if you want to make impact, you gotta plant a seed, not an old tree. What that means, starting your local communities. Don't go to Washington D.C. because you'd be hitting a big brick wall, symbolically speaking. So, all right, enough of that. This one here, a good colleague of mine sent to me, and it actually came out on the 13th from whitehouse.gov. It's an executive order coordinating efforts to prepare the nation for space weather events. And this is what our Lord and Savior, Barry Satora, have to say. By the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, and to prepare the nation for space weather events, hereby ordered as follows. Section 1. Policy space weather events in form of solar flares, solar energy particles, and geomagnetic disturbances occur regularly, with some with measurable effects on the crucial infrastructure, system technologies, and such as global positioning systems or GPS, satellites, operations, communications, aviation, and electrical power grid, extreme space weather events that those could significantly degrade critical infrastructure, could disable large portions of the electrical power grid, resulting in cascading failures that would affect key services such as water supply, healthcare, and transportation. Space weather has the potential to simultaneously affect and disrupt health and safety across entire continents. Successfully preparing for space weather events is an all-of-nation endeavor that requires partners across governments, emergency managers, academia, the media, the insurance industry, nonprofits, and private sector. It is the policy of the United States to prepare for space weather events to minimize the extent of economic loss and human hardship. The federal government must have 1. The capability to predict and detect a space weather event. 2. The plans and programs necessary to alert the public and private sectors to enable mitigating actions for an impending space weather event. 3. The protection and mitigation plans, protocols, and standards required to reduce risk to critical infrastructure prior to and during credible threat. And 4. The ability to respond to and recover from the effects of space weather. The executive departments and agencies must coordinate their efforts to prepare for the effects of space weather events. 2. Section 2, objectives. This order defines agency roles and responsibilities and direct agencies to take specific actions to prepare the nation for the hazardous effects of space weather. These effects are to be implemented in conjunction with those identified in the 2015 National Space Weather Action Plan, and any subsequent updates. Implementing this order and the action will require the federal government to work across agencies and to develop as appropriate enhanced and innovative partnerships with the state, tribal, and local governments, academia, not-profits, the private sector, and international partners. These efforts will enhance national preparedness and space the creation of weather-ready nation. Section 3, coordination. A director of Office of Science and Technology Policy, or OSTP, in consultation with the Assistant to the President for Homeland Security and Counterterrorism and the Director of Office of Management and Budget, shall coordinate the development and implementation of federal government activities to prepare the nation for space weather events, including the activities established in Section 5 of this order and the recommendations of the National Science and Technology Council, established by Executive Order 12881 of November 23rd, 1993, established of the National Science and Technology Council. That was Bill Clinton who signed that order. B, to ensure accountability for and coordination of research, development, and implementation of activities identified in this order and in the action plan. The NSTC shall establish a space weather of operations, research, and mitigation subcommittee. The subcommittee member agencies shall conduct activities to advance the implementation of this order to achieve the goals identified in the 2015 National Space Weather Strategy and any subsequent updates, and to coordinate, monitor the implementation of the activities specified in the action plan, and provide subsequent updates. Section 4, roles and responsibilities. To the extent permitted by law, the agencies below shall, upon the following roles and responsibilities, which are key to ensuring enhanced space weather forecasting, situational awareness, space weather preparedness, and continuous federal government operations during and after space weather events. A, the Secretary of Defense shall ensure the timely provision of operational space weather observations, analysis, forecasts, and other products to support the mission of the Department of Defense and coalition partners, including the provisions of alert and warnings for space weather phenomenon that may affect weapon systems, military operations, or the defense of the United States. B, the Secretary of the Interior shall support research, development, deployment, and operation of capabilities that enhance the understanding of variations of the Earth's magnetic field associated with the solar-terrestrial interactions. C, the Secretary of Commerce shall, which is lowercase I, is provide timely and accurate operational weather forecast, watches, warnings, alerts, and real-time space weather monitoring for the government, civilian, and commercial sectors, exclusive of the responsibilities of the Secretary of Defense, and subsection 2, or 2 I's, ensure the continuous improvements of operational space weather services, utilizing partnerships as appropriate with the research community, including academia and the private sector, and relevant agencies to develop, validate, test, and transition space weather observation platforms and models from research to operations and from operations to research. D, the Secretary of Energy shall facilitate the protection and restoration of the reliability of the electrical power grid during a presidentially declared grid security emergency associated with a geomagnetic disturbance pursuant to 16 U.S. Code 824-0-1. So it's 824-0-1. E, Homeland Security shall be 1. Ensure the timely redistribution of special weather alerts and warnings that support national preparedness, continue continuity of government and continuity of operations, and 2, coordinate response and recover from effects of space weather events on critical infrastructures and the broader community. F, the administrator of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or NASA, shall 1. Implement and support a national research program to understand the Sun and its interaction with Earth and the solar system, to advance space weather modeling and prediction capabilities applicable to space weathering forecasts. 2. Develop a operate space weather related research missions, instrument capabilities and models. And 3. Support the transition of space weather models and technology from research to operations and from operations to research. G. The Director of National Science Foundation shall support fundamental research linked to societal needs for space weather information through investments and partnerships as appropriate. H. The Secretary of State, in consultation with the heads of relevant agencies, shall carry out diplomatic and public diplomacy efforts to strengthen global capacity to respond to space weather events. Sounds very interesting, right? That depends how you look at it, my friends. And I, the Secretary of Defense, Interior, Commerce, Transportation, Energy, and Homeland Security, along with the Administrator of NASA and the Director of NSF, shall work together consistent with their ongoing activities to develop models, observation systems, technologies, and approaches that inform and enhance national preparedness for the effects of space weather events, including how space weather events may be critical infrastructure and change the threat landscape with respect to other hazards. J. The heads of all agencies that support national essential functions defined by Presidential Policy Directive 40 or PPD 40 of July 15, 2016, National Continuity Policy shall ensure that space weather events are adequately addressed in their hazards preparedness planning, including mitigation, response, and recovery as directed by PPD 8 of March 30th, 2011, National Preparedness. K. NSTC member agencies shall coordinate through the NSTC to establish roles and responsibilities beyond those identified in Section 4 of this order to enhance space weather preparedness consistent with agency's legal authority. Section 5, implementation. Within 120 days of the date of this order, the Secretary of Energy, in consultation with the Secretary of Homeland Security, shall develop a plan to test and evaluate available devices that mitigate the effect of geomagnetic disturbances on the electrical power grid through the development of a pilot program that deploys such devices in situ in the electrical power grid. After the development of the plan, the Secretary shall implement the plan in collaboration with industry. In taking the pursuant of this subsection, Secretary Energy and Homeland Security shall consult with the Chairman of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. B. Within 120 days of this date of this order, the heads of the sector-specific agencies that oversee the lifetime critical infrastructure functions as defined by the National Infrastructure Protection Plan of 2013, including communications, energy, transportation, and water and wastewater systems, as well as nuclear reactors, materials, and waste sectors, shall assess their executive and statutory authority and limit of that authority to direct, suspend, or control critical infrastructure operations, functions, and services before, during, and after the space weather event. The heads of each sector-specific agency shall provide a summary of these assessments to the subcommittee. Okay, we could go on here. C. Within 90 days of receipt of the assessments ordered in Section 5B of this order, the subcommittee shall provide a report on the finding of these assessments with the recommendations of the Director of OSTP, the Assistant to the President of Homeland Security for Homeland Security and Counterterrorism, and a Director of OMB. The assessments may be used to inform the development and implementation of policy establishing authorities and responsibilities for agencies in response to a space weather event. D. Within 60 days of this order, the Secretaries of Defense and Commerce, the Administrator of NASA, and the Director of NSF, in collaboration with other agencies as appropriate, shall identify mechanisms for advancing space weather observations, models, and predictions, and for sustaining and transitioning appropriate capabilities from research to operations and operations to research, collaborating with industry and academia to the extent possible. E. Within 120 days of this date of this order, the Secretaries of Defense and Commerce shall make historical data from the GPS constellation and other U.S. government satellites publicly available in accordance with Executive Order 13642 on May 9, 2013, making open and machine readable the new default for government information to enhance model validation and improvements in space weather forecasting and situational awareness. F. Within 120 days of the date of this order, the Secretary of Homeland Security, through the Administrator of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, in coordination with relevant agencies, shall lead the development of a coordinated federal operating concept and associated checklists to coordinate federal assets and activities to respond to notification of and protect against impending space weather events. Within 180 days of the publication of the operating concept and checklist, agencies shall develop operational plans documenting their procedures and responsibilities to prepare for, protect against, and mitigate the effects of impending space weather events in support of the federal operating concept and compatible with the national preparedness described in PDD 8. 6. Stakeholder engagement. The agencies identified in this order shall seek public, private, and international collaborations to enhance observation networks, conduct research, develop prediction models and mitigation approaches, enhance community resilience and preparedness, and supply the services necessary to protect life and property and promote economic prosperity as consistent with law. 7. Definitions as used in orders. A. Prepare and preparedness have the same meaning. They have PPD 8. They refer to the actions taken to plan, organize, equip, train, and exercise to build and sustain the capabilities necessary to prevent, protect against, mitigate the effect of, respond to, and recover from those threats that pose the greatest risk to the security of the nation. This includes the prediction and notification of the space weather events. B. Space weather means variations in the space environment between the Sun and Earth and throughout the solar system that can affect technologies in space and on Earth. The primary types of space weather events are solar flares, solar energetic particles, and geomagnetic disturbances. C. Solar flare means a brief eruption of intense energy on or near the sun's surface that is typically associated with sunspots. D. Solar energetic particles means ions and electrons ejected from the sun that are typically associated with solar eruptions. E. Geomagnetic disturbance means temporary disturbance of the Earth's magnetic field resulting from solar activity. F. Critical infrastructure has meaning provided in Section 1016E of the USA Patriot Act of 2001, or they go Section 42, U.S. Code 5195 CE. Namely, systems and assets, whether physical or virtual, so vital the United States that the incapacity of this or destruction of such systems and assets would have a debilitating impact on security, national economic security, national public health or safety, or any combinations of those matter. So, interesting there, right, folks? G. Sector-specific agency means the agency designated under PDD 21 of February 23, 2013, critical infrastructure security and resilience, or any successor directive to be responsible for providing institutional knowledge and specialized expertise, as well as leading and facilitating or supporting and the security and resilience programs and the associated activities of its design critical infrastructure sector and all hazards. Section 8, General Provisions. A. Nothing in this order shall be construed to impair or otherwise affect. And it goes to A1. The authority granted by law to an agency or the head thereof, or 2, the functions of the director of OMB relating to budgetary, administrative, or legislative proposals. B. This order shall be implemented consistent with applicable law and subject to the availability of appropriations. I hope I didn't goof up when I said like B is the function. Like this is 2 is the functions. All right. C. This order is not intended to and does not create any right or benefit, substantive or procedural, affordable at law, or in equity by any party against the United States, its departments, agencies, or entities, its officers, employees, or agents, or any other person. Barack Obama. This happened on October 13th, 2016. So some people may say, hey, what did he have? What is going on that we may not know? So that's one thing you have to look at, but it's more like of a joint venture on a global stance, because you know Barack Obama is a pretty sneaky chap. Actually, he exposed himself by being part of the UN Council, which is totally illegal under Article 1, Section 9 of the U.S. Constitution, because he never had permission, but he believes, the puppet, another puppet, yeah, he can do whatever he wants. People are just too damn stupid. However, he's got to understand one area about weathers and so forth. I think individuals like ourselves got to prepare ourselves. We can't just rely on the government for everything. So something like this happens, solar flares and all that. We got to be alert, pay attention, and be self-contained, because we don't want FEMA and Homeland Security snooping around and, oh yeah, come with us. Because the power grid's down, you got to come with us for your own safety. But you guys are saying you got to look at things across the board. So I know I didn't make enough specifications on my view, but that's just how I see it. All right, next one here came from personalliberty.com, and it came out today. Yes, it came out. Yeah, it came out the 25th, and it says another reason to carry conceal. Violent flash mobs targets innocents in Philly. It's by Sam Rollin. Exercise your right to vote, of course. In recent years, Americans have witnessed an uptick in random acts of violence carried out by urban youth, spurred by racial hatred and the prospect of internet infamy. The most recent occurrences illustrate that anyone could become a victim of wanton and potentially fatal attacks in public places. According to a recent report out of NBC Philadelphia, innocent people were attacked by roving gangs of miscreants on North Philadelphia campus of Temple University Friday. The mobs, ranging in 20 to 100 violently and unruly criminals, wreaked havoc on the campus for more than 2 hours, punching and kicking multiple students and even assaulting a uniformed police officer before dissipating. All right. The mobs attack were reportedly orchestrated via social media. While the news out of Philadelphia may be shocking to those who believe America to be a largely civilized society, this sort of unprovoked violence is becoming commonplace in the streets of American cities. Back in 2013, a new trend called the knockout game emerged, wherein urban youth attack unwitting pedestrians with sucker punches to the head and posted videos of the senseless assault online. As I reported at the time, in New York, authorities reported that there's a growing trend of young blacks attacking whites, usually Jewish, victims at random in the streets. So it's saying that random racially motivated acts of violence are being carried out by the youth on the streets of American cities. It's not fiction. And the perpetrators of such acts consider the assault and potential murder of a random unsuspecting victim to be part of a game called a knockout game is a reality carried out by so far with a little media fanfare. The game is nothing new and is not isolated to New York, but it was once relegated to black gang culture in the nation's harsher urban environments, according to law enforcement. Besides, Jews, Asians, and other non-blacks in general have been targets of attack. Authorities in St. Louis report that these attacks have been rampant in recent years, and similar attacks have occurred in Missouri, Wisconsin, and a handful of other states. In Illinois, notably, the game is referred to interchangeably as a knockout game or polar bear hunting by its enthusiasts. Attempts by politicians to irritate the nation's racial divide have only made the problem worse, with anti-police riots in urban areas throughout the country in recent months, sometimes turning into whitey hunting excursions, as the case in Milwaukee this summer. And then there is recent footage of Charlotte, North Carolina, where a white man was beaten by an angry black mob. I could link to hundreds of other examples. Racial problems and those senseless acts of violence aren't going to end anytime soon in the United States, thanks to the divisiveness peddled by Washington politicians, a worsening economy, and an overall sense of despair in many parts of this country. As the nation's growing class of victims become increasingly violent and unreasonable, your chances of an unfortunate encounter will continue to increase. Stay vigilant, arm yourself, and learn proper self-defense techniques. Absolutely. Because when I see folks like clowns like them going around attacking innocent people, you are actually the first line of defense. And many people, a lot of areas in these communities don't understand. People got to realize that police aren't obligated to protect you. Okay, as an individual, to protect the civil public best they can, but they can't be everywhere. So that's under oh man, I could say at the top of my head, man. It's oh shoot, immunity. Yes, the sovereign immunity is called, and tort liability. Sovereign immunity and tort liability. Look it up, especially in your states, because I know in Florida it's section 785.26, if I'm correct, the Florida statute. But sovereign immunity and tort liability. Look that up. I have posted stuff so many times, but I don't know, although most of my listeners do have a clue on that. And another thing too in this, because self-defense is the right thing, and I know now Missouri, starting January 1st, they're going to have constitutional carry, which you can carry concealed and open without a permit. That's like the 12th state to do that, and that's going to be a big factor for all those criminals out there. If you're going to screw around, you're going to get a lot more what you can chew on. And don't get me wrong, you think it's a damn joke of going around beating up on people for no apparent reason? If you get shot, I'm not going to have pity for you. All your friends, oh, how dare they do that? I said, no. You're going to play that game? You're going to be violent? That means violence will come back at you. It's called blowback. That's how I see it. If you don't like it, I can give a damn what you think of me. So, but it's completely wrong, and these people need to wake up because they're part of the game, the pawns of the game. The folks out there are being used, don't care about you guys. You're going to be like a bunch of ingrates, you're going to get ingrateful results. And I'm not making threats. That's your fate, not mine. All right, enough of that. Finally, this came from the Daily News. John Lott, feds must fix flaws in background checks. And it sounds like an anti-gun thing, but I looked at it. It says here, just in time for the election, the New York Attorney General has released a new statewide study showing that petty crime guns originate from other states. Attorney General Eric Schneiderman's office describes the report as containing an unprecedented amount of information about trace guns. He is using it to push for stronger federal gun control laws, in particular background checks on private gun transfers, also known as universal background checks. What a wet dream, right? But the laws are being pushed will not stop gun crimes in New York or elsewhere. They will just make more guns expensive. It is not easy to stop criminals from getting guns. Indeed, just look at how difficult it has been to people to stop people from getting illegal drugs. Guns are just as easy to smuggle as drugs are. The issue of drugs and guns are intertwined, since gangs arm themselves in order to protect turf and valuable merchandise. Obviously, gangs can't go to the police to settle disputes with rival gangs. Even if we could magically make all guns and illegal guns in this country disappear, they would immediately come flowing back into the country. Gang, Gang violence is an incredibly serious problem. The Obama administration estimates that gangs are responsible for much as 8% of crime in the U.S., but banning guns or just handguns doesn't work. Every country in the world for which we have crime data has seen an increase in murder rates. Following passage of the gun bans, guns crossing state borders is no more a result of other states having lax gun control laws than New Yorkers owning cars that were purchased in other states. But Hillary Clinton has promised to solve the problem with further dictatorial executive orders. But she should get Congress to pass background checks on private sales if only she would address a few simple and reasonable changes. What never gets mentioned is that these gun control laws it leads to expensive fees and can disarm our most valuable citizens, poor minorities who live in high crime urban areas. Clinton's website claimed that 2.4 million prohibited or dangerous people have been stopped from buying a gun because of background checks. In fact, there have been 2.4 million initial denials, about 99% of which turned out to be mistakes. Unlike private companies that do criminal background checks on employees, the government only uses names, not even bothering to check whether their middle names are different and a person's birth date. Even though gun buyers provide their social security numbers and addresses, the background check system does not use this information to identify people. Private companies are again held to a different standard, being required to use this additional information when conducting criminal background checks. People of certain ethnic or national backgrounds are often relatively likely to share similar names. Hispanics have names similar to other Hispanics. Blacks tend to have names similar to other blacks. 30% of black males are legally prohibited from owning a gun because of criminal records, and their names are more likely to be confused with those law-abiding black males. Worse, the Obama administration has reassigned people who previously checked for mistaken denials. Law-abiding Americans who don't want to wait for the Byzantine system will have to hire a lawyer for thousands of dollars. This is beyond the means of most Americans, especially for poor inner-city minorities. The fees for universal background checks range from $55 in Oregon to $125 in New York City. These costs are borne by law-abiding citizens, and it isn't as though gang members are going to pay these costs. Democrats argue that freer voter IDs unfairly burden poor people, yet they seem okay with making guns unaffordable. Exactly, it's a double standard, right? If background checks are for everyone's benefit, then they should pay for out of general revenue. But what's the point of paying for a background check system that doesn't even work? Most importantly, we have to make the government abide by the same rules that private companies do when performing background checks. I have suggested that these Simple fixes for 15 years, but gun control advocates have refused to consider them. When Colorado Republicans propose to exempt people below the poverty level from the new 2013 state tax on private transfers, all but 2 Democrats voted against the exemption. If Democrats really believe that universal background checks are so important, making these simple changes will eliminate the opposition. If they don't want to make the changes, it shows that the real purpose of the law is to reduce gun ownership or to blame Republicans for obstructionism, not to stop crime. And of course, Lott is the president of the Crime Prevention Research Center and the author, The War on Guns. He's right. Can't argue about that at all. The whole thing is this, my friends. Prohibition doesn't work. Look, especially on the drugs. The study the 1920s, when the 18th Amendment came out with alcohol. What happened? Criminals and corrupt governments benefited from it. And you think gangs or criminals are gonna go? Okay, I'm gonna do a background check, see if I can get a firearm. Please give me a break. You folks are in bizarro world. That's what makes me laugh when I hear all these stupid, same old song and dance garbage from minimum 35 years ago on what she would do. You know what? Stop it. It's completely ludicrous. And you know what? These background checks be more accurate. But you guys say, I need a year for the background check. This happens. It's in the books. Now you want to do it for private sales? None of your damn business. That's how I look at the government. I don't trust you. Whether it's a local, state, and federal. Never did, never will. Okay? None of your damn business what I can purchase, as long as I don't use it for criminal intent. Because I do agree, if you're gonna use a firearm or any weapon for criminal intent, you deserve stiffer penalties. No doubt about it. It has nothing to do with the Second Amendment at all. But the whole thing is, it's a cluster. And they go and Hillary Clinton wants to do a little magic wand theory. Bing! It doesn't work. It's a wet dream. All right? Enough said of that. Okay, folks, I'd like to thank everyone for listening to this show. Really appreciate your time. Plus, feel free to download and share this throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or send me something that's interesting I haven't addressed yet, whatever you do, please deliver your correspondences with decorum. You can hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Tumblr, YouTube, Freedoms Network, and Scene.life. In addition, you can email me at LokiLuck3, which is LokiLuck and the number 3 altogether at gmail.com. I'm going to play a song from a friend of mine, JP Soros. He had a band called Burner, and the Southern Fried Road Rock. They were fun. They had an album out. I think it's not around anymore on Pavement. And it's really good stuff. I checked them out. Been a fan of theirs for a while. Rolling Thunder off of their CD, One for the Road. Fun song. Like I said, Southern Fried Road Rock from South Florida. All right, man. Enjoy the song. Thank you for your time once again. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.
It's a gas and we're on our way. Look out! Disaster! break of dawn. Hit the road in a 57 Chevy. Drink whiskey all night long. I'm riding dog, greasy down the dirty. I stay up until the break of dawn. Rolling disaster. Speeding faster. Rolling disaster. Hit the road in a 57 Chevy.